Good morning and welcome to today's presentation sessions. I'm myself Parthasarathy from Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman Maritime University, MPSM 6th batch, and today's presentation subject is Challenges in Seafarers Recruitment and Placement, Bangladesh Perspective. At the very beginning of our discussion, if you look into the right side of your screen, we see a group of seafarers on board a vessel coming from various different countries of the world. Whereas on the left-hand side of your screen as well, you see a different group of seafarers also on board a ship. And this photo was shared on an issue of the magazine, The Sea. And this photo comprises of the seafarers coming from Bangladesh. In this photograph, the captain and the chief engineer, and also we see a female seafarers on board the vessel, who is a cadet on board and also from Bangladesh. With this, we understand Bangladesh has really reached to the globalization sector in the shipping arena. Coming back to our presentation session subject, what is seafarers recruitment and placement? It is a total management by a person or by a company or agency on behalf of the employer. Of course, because of the distances, the seafarers and the employer is not in a single country, and they require a representative who will perform the job of the recruitment on behalf of them. And finally, they act on placement of the seafarer on board a vessel. In doing so, the challenges, if we look into, are global quality of the maritime education training and infrastructure, the expensive nature of the maritime education training against poverty, blacklisting threat from the IMO, and saturated domestic market for the seafarers, less number of vessels owned by Bangladesh, and the sea placement of the passed out cadets from various academy are the major ones. Nevertheless, the challenges list goes into the increasing difficulty to hire the top talents, the position to identify and address sourcing and staffing issues, the lack of commitment of training obligations, the more volatile seafarer market, and increases in training cost, and a higher rate of mobility among the ship's officers. As well, the employers crew poaching, re-employment of retired officers, and lengthening the duty of the officers, those who are already on board, are reducing the manning levels. If we want to find out the focal points of the challenges, they can be identified as the variable influences the employability in the global shipping market, the constraints of the Bangladesh seafarers in terms of those competitive parameters, and an appropriate role that must be performed by the seafarer recruitment and placement service provider. Bangladesh should have been a very large potential for developing the seafaring profession for the global commercial markets, but we do have restraints. Listing starts with the manning cost. At present, the employers and various owners of the shipping companies are heavily looking into the cost reduction, and this is affecting the manning cost, which is the ultimate part and parcel of the seafarer recruitment agencies to do a proper and perfect job. We have employers complaining on our nationality's communication competency, and we need to surely look into the sector and develop ourselves. Visa restriction to certain countries as a Bangladeshi national has always been an issue, and this need to be developed. Occasional desertion from the ship is an old issue, and still on today's date, we have records of seafarers doing this from various European and US ports as well. If we look into the various figures of the jointly done by BIMCO, ISF, ICS, global supply and demand factors, we can see starting from 1995 until 2005, the global supply demand and the shortage of the seafarers worldwide. And we can see it has always been in an area of 15,000 to 10,000 numbers of seafarers. And as it's projected by 2025, the number of seafarers global shortage will come to 1,47,500. The same has been plotted into a graphical figure over here, whereas we have on the vertical side the global shortage, and on the horizontal side we have the forecasting years. And we can see the peak by 2025, the demand will come at 1,47,500 seafarers. As we have done the SWOT analysis of this Bangladeshi seafaring, so we have the strengths, our weakness, our opportunities, and our threats. As a strength, we have huge science background students of good English knowledge, which can become an ultimate potential seafarers. We have many volunteers which are coming out to be a volunteer on the MET and the seafaring. And we have increased number of marine institutes. On the weakness side, we have global quality to fight on the MET sector. We have very expensive MET against our poverty level of this country. We have a blacklist rate still by the IMO if we have done any violation in the future. We have less number of Bangladeshi vessels, and as well we have difficulties in the placement of the passed out cadets. The findings from these studies can be defined as, compared to many other countries in Bangladesh, we have a very good advantage, but barriers are there to make it as an implementation, which finally still exist. Bangladesh has the potential to fulfill its local needs and as well export the supply of its excess seafarers to meet the global demands. But this is very well obstructed with many factors. The domestic push of excess seafaring officers requires a strategic pull by the government, who needs to really act with an aggressive gesture and vigorous seafaring diplomacy, which will include convincing various different countries of the world to take the seafarers from us with much easier options on the visa issues. Bangladesh must implement a thorough marketing plan to capitalize on the expanding worldwide demand, as we have seen earlier on the graphs, for its all seafarers. As we have seen in this USEM model, the quality coming out from the seafarers and their own potentials ultimately are influenced by some socioeconomic factors and external factors, ultimately to come into the employability. The socioeconomic factors include the country's image, desertion issues, national fleet, and personal circumstances, which is also influenced by external factors as the demand supply from the companies, the visa restrictions, and the ship owners' employment policy. So not only the seafarer's quality, his skills, and the supports will matter for the employability, but we also need the external factors within the country and outside the country to be in a favorable condition. We can conclude up saying that Bangladesh has a very long history and reputation for providing mariners all over the world, but the Bangladeshi seafarers are losing their worldwide market share, basically and mainly due to immigration obstacles and disadvantages of past records on some key issues. The Department of Shipping must adopt e-governance, including all sectoral online support system to assist online compliance as required by foreign countries and the foreign flag states. We can recommend that the capability of the Department of Shipping should be increased with trained staffs, as well as supervising, monitoring, auditing, and evaluating the quality standards of the maritime education and training. Ministry of Foreign Affairs missions oversees can resolve the visa issues by talking to the countries and can try to mitigate the complications that are encountered by Bangladeshi seafarers abroad when they go for joining a ship. Bangladesh may potentially bring the visa problem confronting its sailors to the International Maritime Organization, IMO, who are in search of international remedies. The country may also use her whitelisting credential to IMO to help it. And of course, we need multidimensional measures by the Department of Shipping, by Ministry of Shipping, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, maritime academies, and stakeholders in the shipping sector to successfully exploit the potential of worldwide demand for seafaring officers through global marketing. I thank you for attending these presentation sessions to you all, and thank you for your attention.